Hello, everyone, and welcome back to 6 Online, Day 3. How is everyone doing today? I hope you are enjoying all of these wonderful indie games. And I am joined by the incomparable, spectacular Mac and Cheese, please. Mac, how are you doing today?
Hi, I'm doing good. I've just been watching and participating in chat. So many awesome games. I cannot wait to see what else we have in store today. How's it been going with you, Alchemist?
It's been going pretty well. I've reached the point where my wallet is weeping, but my hands are excited to play all these new games. And speaking of all these new games, I would like to bring on our next guests. We will be joined by the also amazing Stephazoid and Tomas Gomez for some Slime Heroes. I believe, Tomas, you've told me about Slime Heroes at an in-person event, and I kind of want to know a little bit more about it. So tell me a little bit about Slime Heroes.
Yeah, sure. So Slime Heroes is a game I've been working on for a while now. It's a fantasy action game where you get to play as these little adorable slime creatures. I basically made the game with the high intention. I wanted to make a game that I could play with my friends and family. So it's a co-op game that you'll both be able to play as slimes, and you'll be fighting these oozy, corrupted creatures and defeating them all the way to get to the end to fight these giant bosses also. And through that, you'll find different weapons, and then you'll also be able to find different skills and be able to customize your own unique skills to play the way you want to.
That sounds amazing. Well, before we talk about this game anymore, I believe we have a trailer, so let's take a look at that right quick.
Oh no, an evil fog is corrupting every living creature. There is one that is immune. Who is this mighty hero? A slime? How can an adorable little slime fight against this? This? Or that? Wait, where did it get that sword? Is that a meteor shower? How? Ice breath? When did you get that? Now there are two of them? Alright, slimes can be heroes. Grab a friend and save the world from oozy monsters and formidable bosses. Discover different weapons and create your own magical abilities to express the way you want to adventure in Slime Heroes. Ooh.
That's
so
a big
cute.
deal.
All I can say is look so cute. I love this game. Oh my gosh.
Thanks so much. Yeah, definitely a big attempt was to create something very charming and an art style that was very welcoming and wanted people to enjoy.
Absolutely. It 100% bleeds through like how cute and charming, even like the bosses, when you would think traditionally would be something really scary, it doesn't feel that way at all. It almost feels like you don't want to hurt them because everything just is, I just love the graphics so much. It's so cute.
And definitely the bosses are one of the main end goals for each of the different areas of the world of Slime Heroes, but when you defeat them, I didn't want to make them too scary because they actually become your friends after the fact. So you're making buddies along the way.
Very cool.
Mm-hmm.
I get to befriend the... Okay, so with that kind of thought being in place, I kind of have to ask, what was your inspiration for this game?
Yeah, so I said earlier, one of my big intentions was to create a game that I could share with friends and family. I've made a couple of smaller games on the side, like mobile games and VR games, but this was an attempt to make something that I could share with people that were close to me, and then also when people play, they could also share that experience with their friends and family. So that was one of my main intentions. The game is 2-player, local and online co-op, and then the art style, actually, I've had a fairly long career in game industry, and I've been an artist for most of my career, and so I wanted to bring a lot of what I've learned. So all the environment art and the character art has been stuff that I've learned over the years and wanted to bring to this title. So that's something I tried to do.
With art being a lot of your focus, what made you go in the direction for this particular art style for this game?
Yeah, so I'm going to talk a little bit about design. The design was actually built a little bit off of Dark Souls types games, which are known for being like very hard and difficult, and usually that atmosphere, very scary, and the atmosphere can be very ominous. And so I took some mechanics that I liked from them, but then I wanted to do an art style that could be more inviting and create a world that players would want to be in for a good amount of time. And so that was one of my big, figuring that out. And so like, even when you die, there's like cute animations that happen, and there's like nice little music jingles, and just to lighten all the like more harder things that happen in an action game, because I know how stressed like an action game can get, and so bringing an art style that is softer and more lighthearted hopefully balances that out to some degree.
Absolutely.
I'm trying. Every time I go to say something, I see like one of the messages that come up when you die, and the first one I saw was "You're gonna feel that tomorrow," and it was just like, oh my goodness. So, one of the things about games like this, though, especially with action games, is sometimes you can end up wandering into an area where the enemies are a little too strong, or maybe a little bit, like a little bit more difficult for what your current level is. Was there any kind of consideration that went into that when you were thinking about how to like design these levels?
Sure. So they're still figuring that stuff out. That's, I think, all the way up to when you fully release, you're going to be balancing that kind of thing. But the game, one of the main things about the game that I wanted to build was allow the player to kind of be able to play the way that they want. And so the main thing is these combat interactions, and so I wanted to give them tools to allow them to solve these combat interactions in different ways. And so the main like hook for this game is actually the skill system, and so you're actually, every enemy you defeat, you can get more of these skill gems to slot into your own skills to be able to create skills, to create your own unique skills. And then these skills can do a whole bunch of things. So right now you're seeing a whirlwind, but if you go to the skill menu, there's like 3 slots, and you can put in a projectile into the whirlwind, and now you can shoot it, and it can be a moving whirlwind that hurts things along the path. And so it allows for players to be creative and then also customize their type of play that they want to. And,
That's really unique. The fact that you can customize your own play for how you want to. Like, that almost reminds me of, in a little way, like Zelda type games where you get a weapon in a certain area, and that's the weapon you use to defeat the enemies in that area. But being able to really customize and add on and build to defeat the enemies how you want to is really, really cool. And I really appreciate that, for sure.
Yeah, I always love like that is something that I did try to pull from the Dark Souls type game, just allowing me to maybe even potentially break the game by doing fun stuff and being creative. Like, I think that stuff's great, and so I wanted to create a system that allowed players to basically try to cheat how I thought it could be solved, but then they build a crazy skill and defeat it really easily by staying back or doing something that I just didn't expect. That's my hope. I want players to break my game.
Speaking of breaking your game, what kind of challenges did you face when designing and creating and coding this game?
So, actually, some of the challenges. So, I've been actually building this game for the last 8-9 months by myself, and so it's been a lot of learning. Like I said, like a lot of my previous experience has been in doing art, and I've been slowly trying to grow my skill set and learn programming and all that. And so trying to pick up all those different hats, like, it's definitely been a big challenge. And then there's also that issue with like working by yourself. Like, I love working with people, and working with people, you're allowed to be iterative and get different ideas from a bunch of different people and collaborate. And it's hard, and you just can't really get that as a solo person. And so you have to find ways to fill that gap. And so that's been something that I've definitely struggled with. I'd say that'd probably be one of the hardest things.
That's gonna leave a mark.
Yeah. I'm really impressed. So from start to where we are now, just a solo team, just you created this whole thing?
Yeah, I recently actually have been able to bring some people on. So basically like 2-3 weeks ago, the team's grown a lot, not being just me. So I'm really excited to start working with people, and I'm really excited to see what Slime Heroes turns into in the next couple months.
Me too.
So there was a question I was going to ask, but in watching the gameplay, it kind of got answered for me. So you mentioned Dark Souls is one of the things, and for anyone that's ever, for those of you who have not played Dark Souls, first of all, I envy your very peaceful life. But in Dark Souls, when you die, you end up losing a lot of your progress. You lose your currency for that. And so the question I have is, what made you decide to kind of, even though you were kind of trying to soften some of the edges of that genre, what made you decide to add that mechanic into this game in addition to the other mechanics that were there?
Sure. Well, originally it was a little bit of a selfish reason, because I love Dark Souls games and I couldn't share that type of experience with my partner. I tried to get her to play those games, but they were very dark and they were very punishing, and so she'd maybe spend an hour in it and then put it down. And so there's so many things that I love about those games. So the amount of exploration that you get from it, the freedom of play to be able to play the way you want and customize your characters. And so I wanted to I wanted to bring some of those things into a game and then share that. And but there are certain systems that you'll definitely see. Like I tried to add like weight to the combat, and so you're still like making choices on every time you use your basic or heavy attack, or when you use your magic. And then like the exploration, I wanted to create these side paths. Like right now, you're finding this little side paths to find a nice, cute little hat that you can put on your slime and customize them and make them look more custom the way you want to. And they're just, those games in particular are very good masters about like leading a player in a direction and then having ways to like backpath and like create shortcuts and stuff like that. So those are all things that you'll see in Slime Heroes. There's the obvious one. I think you mentioned like currency. So you do keep your you drop your experience. You can collect it like you normally see in a Souls game. You do keep your skills, so at least like as you're collecting your skills, you always have a permanent sense of progression with those, and then you will have that threat of losing your experience though.
Which is a fantastic thing, because for anybody who's played Souls games, that is absolutely just the reminder that you died. Along with that is like it's just devastating. So seeing your rendition of the "you died" is fantastic in itself.
It's a fun. I think it's an interesting mechanic because it always incentivizes you to think about your next move. Like it's not just you zone out and just play this game. Like there's still a little bit of thought. Like should I progress farther and defeat these next couple monsters, or should I go back and level up? And so there's always a choice then because of that one mechanic, which I thought was really interesting.
So a question from chat from Patrice. They were wondering, what have been the biggest design changes since you first started developing this game? Or has there been any particular changes that you thought you were going one direction and you're like, no, I have to change it and go this direction instead?
Wow, biggest design changes. So even though it's been myself, like I feel like I'm always trying to iterate, and so I think almost every feature I've tried, I always have a design mentality to get in as quick as possible. Like even when I was first thinking of the idea for Slime Heroes, rather than writing a huge design doc or anything, I just wanted to get something in and so you can play it. And so I think almost any feature probably got some amount of iteration. One that got the most iteration, I still am constantly like trying to work out the skill system and try to make that as friendly as possible, because like even like combining 3 different things can be kind of intense for a player. And so I think that's gone through many iterations of trying to simplify and take it down to the bare minimum to where you still have that freedom of play to be creative and create your skills, but be simple enough that you can actually understand it. There's been like little things like movement and combat. I think anything with an action game, like just getting those animations just right to feel good, takes a lot of just playing and going back and moving a couple of frames of animation. And so there's just tons of iteration there. I'm actually excited because part of the team growing is actually bringing on 2 animators, which have a lot of experience in that. So I'm excited to see the combat get better and better.
Sure.
Now, there's another question that came. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Other than combat, is there anything with this new team, since you've just kind of grown immensely from your one-man team here? Is there anything other than combat that you are specifically looking forward to seeing implemented or changed?
Yeah, I'm bringing up. Basically, I brought on everyone. I brought on people where I felt that I could use help in. Most of my history has been as an environment artist and a character artist, and so the other fields I've been a little bit lacking in experience. And so bringing on animators to help with all the action, the animations of the slime, the animations of the enemies, which like already it's only been a couple weeks and some of the stuff coming in is looking amazing. I'm really excited. It's not like I'm really excited to get that in. Got a UI artist coming on, and so all the UI should be getting a really awesome process. We're already seeing roughs come out, and they're looking really great. Already, like working with those few people, like actually in talking through ideas has helped me even do the things that I work on even better. So I have a composer. The music's great. We just have these 2 areas right now, and then the main menu, and every song is unique to this game and brings in that whimsy and charm to the game, the music. Let's see here. I think those are definitely everyone's beat. We have a concept artist and a programmer coming on to help with other things also. The concept artist bring more creative ideas in, and then the programmer to fix everything that I'm terrible at programming wise.
Always need one of those, right?
Yes, they're very valuable. If it got really far, that was actually close to, like, almost got to the end of the boss.
Oh, man.
I saw the slime turn to ouch, and I was like, oh no, that's gonna. Okay, so one of the other questions that we kind of got was, since you designed this as a game for your friends and family,
Sure.
have they had a chance to play it with you yet? And do you have any cool stories or any things that you decided to change based on their feedback?
Yeah.
Let's see here. So yeah, I've definitely I said earlier, like being playing by yourself, like you have to look for that feedback wherever you can, and so bringing in friends and family as early as possible to play it, that's been a great resource. Also been using like indie game groups like Seattle Indie. They've been a great resource to get feedback from, and so yeah, I don't like working in a bubble. I think it's great to get different opinions because everyone sees a game very differently and sees different mechanics differently. And especially as a developer, that is making the game, you're not the best at determining if something's difficult or challenging or hard to understand. And so bringing in those people with different perspective is very valuable. So I think anytime getting feedback, it always is helpful. I think whenever someone's playing my game, I got my notepad or my phone and I'm taking notes, and it's very valuable. So I think I can't pinpoint, let's see if I can, it's always fun to have different people because everyone has different perspectives. So I have certain friends I know I can go to and they'll play it and they'll give me great feedback on the combat, and then I'll have other friends that just focus on the art. And so different people give different perspectives. That's why it's always good to get multiple voices.
So one cool thing I just noticed just now during the playthrough is Catherine, who's playing this game, by the way. Tremendous shout out to Catherine for playing this adorably punishing game. But I noticed that they had died a little further in close to the boss, and then on their way back to their souls, they had died a second time. Now, in a Souls game, that usually means that your first set of experience is now gone forever to the ether, and I can tell you horror stories of losing like 500,000 souls because I made a mistake and got parried by a skeleton. Anyway, what made you decide to make this part like a little, like, was the idea of designing it for family and friends one of the things that decided to make you make that not as punishing? And like, because that's one of those things that like as a person who's played those games, I'm really excited that I'm not going to be punished as much for maybe picking a fight with something that I probably shouldn't at a half a heart of health.
That's part of the fun, though. So yeah, playing with the friends and family definitely makes this a different experience than solo. So like usually, yeah, with the Souls games, which happens in here, when you die your second time, you lose those gems. If you play with a friend, though, there's definitely there's a mechanic where you like when you die, you blow up into this big balloon with like little flappy wings, and you kind of just float around, and then your friend can pop you by attacking you, and then you summon right back and you go back into the action. So having a friend there, it creates a different dynamic of you constantly pushing together. When someone falls, you can bring them back very easily. There's a lot of different mechanics like that to motivate people to potentially play with their friends.
Very cool. You mentioned having 2 areas right now. What's the roadmap looking like? How many areas? What's the length of the game that you're hoping to achieve by time's end?
Yeah, so right now there's 2 areas. So we have the caves that they started out in, and then there's this forest area. The end roadmap is planned to have six distinct areas with a full loop with all unique enemies, each enemy having their unique skills, and then each area having their own boss. That's the core of the game. There will be extra stuff to find also. There might be potential extra bosses to discover and hidden little dungeon areas, but the core of the game will be 6 areas.
Waterfall. No.
Maybe. But yeah, 6 full areas with a bunch of enemies.
Very cool.
And then yeah, each area will have a. What's that?
Boss rush mode.
If you want to, I've definitely rushed the boss and tried to beat them at level 1, and it can be done with a lot of grief. But yeah, each of the areas hopefully have their own look. Right now there's the caves and the forest, and you might be seeing a snowy area coming up, and maybe a mountain fiery area, very common to what you see in a lot of games. But hopefully each area has its own character, and one of the goals, at least the art style for the whole game, is to everything have a charm and whimsy to it. And so everything, even if there's a lava mountain area, like there will be some amount of charm and character to it, so it doesn't feel too ominous to players.
Yeah, I love the fact that it doesn't feel insanely ominous. And like you mentioned, that one of the reasons that something so adorable came from this is that your partner didn't really care for like the feel of Dark Souls, and that's huge. There are a lot of people who don't like that, and one of the things that I love about this is that I have nieces that we come from nerd families, you know what I mean? We come from gaming families that grew up with things like Demon Souls and Dark Souls. So to see something like this is like, oh, we're now going to breed the next generation of little monsters that are gonna just wreck everything, and I love that.
Yeah, that would be the dream. That this is just an entry point into that genre. That was definitely one of my intentions. So, because I love that genre so much, Souls-like games, and there's definitely a stigma to them. And so I wanted to pull the bare minimum from those, at least the things that I love about them, and try to bring them to something that's more of an entry point into that genre.
Looks like it's boss fight time.
It is. And these are the most challenging fights, so be prepared to maybe die a couple times.
The bear cupine.
Oh no.
Oh
Goodness.
oh my god.
Yeah, so the bosses are gonna have. So each boss is gonna have its own unique skills and combat stuff. So you won't see anything else like that throughout the game. So there's to be a very unique experience. And so this boss in particular will lay down these spines that explode with energy, and so you're trying to manage where the boss is going, and so you don't get flustered with getting cornered with all these exploding pink spines.
Oh yeah.
I'm watching Catherine do this, and I saw her like walk up to it, shield up, and my brain was like, yeah. And then I watched the hearts evaporate, and I went, no.
Run.
How so?
Bad life choice.
I feel like horrible life choices make better bad life choices. I feel like in games like this, balancing the bosses is usually one of the most difficult things. How did you go about? And we're just going to talk about the one that we can see, so we don't spoil anything for anyone later on. How did you go about balancing this particular boss, and also like how far back the respawn point was for it?
Actually, yeah, I wanted to have a spawn point right next to it. I think that was one of the grief points for Souls-like games, is like building that tension to get to the boss, but the boss is kind of the reward for defeating, and so I kind of wanted the players just to always get back into it. Like, I think it's been intention actually throughout the whole game. Is you'll see in a lot of games, like, I don't know, bring up was it Super Meat Boy? Like, they're a master at dying. They know how to get a player right back into the action, and so that's always been something I've tried to do with this game. When you die, I wanted it to be as fast as possible to get right back into the game and play again. And then same thing with the boss fights, which are the main thing you're trying to go towards. I wanted to, once you lost the boss, I wanted to spawn you right there and then go right back and try it again. And so that was very intentional.
What about for us, like filthy casuals? Are there going to be different difficulty levels or options to tone down the difficulty if need be?
So that's still balancing out right now. There are certain, so you can level up your character. So you can obviously play, like, you can keep playing like one area and level up and increase your health if you feel like you're too squishy, or if you want to do more damage and so you just want to rush in and kill everything immediately, you can upgrade into that. There also, because of the freedom of play and developing your skills, the game is definitely getting built with melee highly in mind. The skill system actually is built to where you spend a magic resource, the little blue bar, and you actually only build it when you use your melee skills. And so a lot of the combat's kind of built around the idea of some amount of melee combat. And so if you build your character to be a ranged character, you'll definitely make the game potentially easier. So there's like choices you can make in building your character to make certain situations, and depending on the enemies of the different areas, certain enemies will be easier depending on the skills that you want to use. And, but right now there's not like a specific, like, you click on a menu and set it to beginner or something like that. Not at the moment, at least. There's the hope with these systems that allow for freedom of play to be able to allow players to discover ways to make it easier if they want it, or make it more challenging.
Absolutely, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're gonna have to leave you guys in suspense on whether or not
They're so
Catherine
close.
defeated the Bear Kid.
I know.
But Tomas, where can people find out more information about this game? Where can they go to find more?
Sure. So you can definitely go onto Steam. We already have a store page up. You can wishlist the game on there. I'm very active on Twitter, so you can find out all the newest stuff. I just posted the boss fight on Twitter, so you can go on there and check out a whole boss fight that I did. I think I lost, but you can still see a lot of combat. But it's slime_heroes and then a capital S and a capital H. And so you can check that on Twitter and see all the newest stuff. And then through that, you can find like my Discord if you want to get really active. And occasionally I drop keys in there to get more testers. So
Very cool.
Okay.
Sounds great.
yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah, it's great
Thank
talking
you for
with
joining
you.
us, and I will definitely be going after the next break to, I think I already have it wishlisted, but I might have to drop into the Discord for those keys.
Good. Sounds great. See ya.
So take it easy.